Alarms in the Xenobiology complex didn't scream, they whispered. A thin pulse of light ran across the curved ceiling, followed by a low chime meant to soothe nerves rather than trigger panic. For 20 alien students standing inside the transparent containment chamber, it did the opposite. Every set of eyes, compound, faceted, or otherwise, turned toward the human instructor at the front. Dr. Nyla Freeman didn't look up at the warning lights. She was watching the stock cutter. The predator crouched on the far side of the chamber, limbs folded like knives tucked into a sheath. Its body shimmered with leaf-pattern camouflage, ridges flexing as it tested the faint ripple along the energy veil. A fissure traced the barrier for half a second, hair-thin and undeniable. "Not part of the lesson, is it?" asked Luma of the third pool, her voice bubbling through the mask's translator. "No," Nyla said. Her voice carried a calm weight. "Eyes on me, mask sealed." The containment veil flickered again. Then the lock failed. A burst of motion sent the predator streaming up the wall and across the ceiling lattice. The chamber erupted. A Yannick student slammed his chitinous forelimbs against the floor in a panicked drumbeat. 2 Kasiri unfolded wings and shot upward, colliding midair and tumbling back in a squall of feathers. The amphibious sealshire sprayed mucus as a reflexive defense. "Hold position," Nyla barked. She raised a hand, palm out, the gesture crisp enough to cut through chaos. "Nobody runs. We shrink its world." From the viewing gallery above, Provost Vrix's voice thundered through the comms. "Evacuate immediately. Seal and vent the chamber before casualties occur." Nyla ignored him. "Cell A, Atmos. Bleed down to 0.18, 2 minutes only. Cell B, SmartNets. Deploy funnel formation, sealing ducts closed. Cell C, sent scrubbers on. Move." Her tone wasn't raised. It was exact, surgical, and the students clung to it. They broke into groups, scrambling to their consoles. The chamber's oxygen levels began to dip, enough to tax the predator's high metabolism, but safe for anyone masked. Panels of smartweave unfolded from the floor, snapping together into a glowing funnel that closed gaps along the ceiling. Scramblers whined as chemical mist laced the air, confusing the creature's prey scent. The stalk cutter darted along the ceiling, talons clicking against alloy beams. It circled, confused, then feinted toward a falling Kasiri still gasping from the collision. "On your feet!" Nyla snapped, already moving. She leapt onto a console, baton telescoping from her belt with a hiss. Blue arc shimmered at the tip, 20% charge. Just enough to sting. The predator launched. Nyla intercepted mid-arc, stepping into its momentum rather than away. She struck not at its head, but across the rising ribs, where armor plates lifted to pull breath. The shock staggered it without crippling. The Kasiri scrambled clear. "Net now!" Nyla shouted. Panels folded into place. The creature struck the weave, limbs tangling. It slashed, but Nyla was already behind it, planting one knee into its hind joint. She pressed the baton under its thorax and guided its thrashing into the closing funnel. "Rear limbs, pin sequence green." On their wrist consoles, students saw her grip overlay broadcast from her cam. Forelimb, pivot, lock. 2 Yannick mirrored the moves with startling precision, their exoskeletal grips steadying the weave. A sealshire pulsed the sedative gas into the funnel, their hands trembling but firm. The stalk cutter thrashed once, twice, then slumped, limbs twitching. The SmartNet cinch closed like a cocoon. For 3 breaths, silence filled the chamber. Then the oxygen bleed cut off, and the light steadied. Nyla stood, baton still humming at her side. "No casualties. Specimen secured." Her eyes swept the group. "You did that. Remember your parts." Some of the Kasiri lowered their wings slowly. The Yannick tapped out a relieved rhythm. Luma exhaled a bubbling sigh. Above them, Vrix's voice grated. This proves recklessness, not competence. You risked lives for a spectacle. Nyla turned her gaze upward, unflinching. Accord Bioethics Clause 7, she said evenly. No lethal measures unless sentient life is under immediate, unavoidable threat. I assumed risk personally. Your order is null. The gallery erupted in whispers. Record spheres floated, broadcasting everything across the campus. Nyla crouched to check the net, brushing her gloved hand along the stock cutter's flank. The creature's chest rose steadily under sedation. Vital signs normal. No damage. Then she rose and pointed toward the students. Luma, oxygen modulation perfect. Yannick, grip sequence held under stress. Kasiri, recover faster next time, but your wing deployment blocked a worse strike. That's teamwork. The alien faces shifted. Pride flickered through fear. By the time containment bots hauled the cocoon predator away, the student's eyes no longer tracked it with terror. They tracked Nyla with something close to respect. She tapped her wrist console and pulled up the log. Her brows drew tight. The redundant lock hadn't failed from where it had been told to disengage. Someone had used an admin-level key, blue clearance. Her jaw set. Class dismissed, she said at last. Debrief at 09 tomorrow. As the students filed out, she noticed one human linger. Cade Rourke, legacy admission, tall and broad-shouldered. Sweat slicked his brow, though he barely moved during the crisis. His mouth twisted, eyes alight with a private triumph. You showed them, he murmured, too low for the others. Now they'll never doubt what a human can do. Nyla's gaze cut to the tool chip palmed against his side. She said nothing, but the silence between them held a sharp edge. When he left, she finally let the weight of the moment press into her chest. She leaned against the console, baton still warm in her grip. Outside the viewport, Aurelia's blue-green horizon curved against the stars. She knew what tomorrow would bring. Reports, hearings, and political predators far harder to pin than the one in the net. But she also knew this. 20 students had seen a Deathworlder stand between them and danger without breaking what could have been broken. That image would last longer than the whispers of fear. And maybe, just maybe, it was the start of trust. Morning in the Xenobiology complex carried the sterile scent of ionized air and fresh antiseptic. The practice chamber looked whole again, veil patched, panels aligned, surfaces polished until they gleamed. It was as if yesterday's chaos had been scrubbed away. Yet the memory still clung to the students who filed inside, shoulders stiff, eyes darting toward the ceiling lattice where the predator had leapt. Dr. Nyla Freeman stood before them, tablet in hand. Her posture was casual, one boot hooked against the base of the console, but her gaze was direct. Before we start, she said, tell me what you saw. No blame. No judgment. Just truth. For a moment, silence held. Then Luma of the third pool raised a damp hand. Atmos modulation worked. We cut oxygen, and the predator slowed. Good. Detail? Nyla pressed. 0.18. Safe for us, but it weakened its sprint, Luma replied. A Yannick student clacked mandibles in rhythm. Grip ladder engaged. Your overlay matched my limb range. Neck closed without fracture. Nyla nodded. That rhythm steadied the weave. Precision saved us. One of the Kasiri folded his wings against his back. His voice was low. We panicked. Instinct drove us upward. It nearly cost us. It didn't, Nyla said simply. You recovered, and your wings spread shielded others for 3 seconds. Enough time for the net to bite. Learn from the stumble, not the shame. Tension loosened across the group. They began talking, critiquing themselves, offering suggestions. Fear shifted into analysis. Nyla listened, interjecting only to refine a term or point out a missed observation. By the end, voices overlapped with a kind of energy she recognized, respect building its first fragile scaffold. The door hissed. Provost Vrix entered with 2 aides and a recorder drone trailing like a hungry insect. His crest feathers stood sharp, his eyes cold. "This debrief is irrelevant," he declared. "The incident itself proves recklessness. The practicum must be suspended immediately." Nyla straightened but did not raise her voice. "0 injuries. Specimen unharmed." Protocols followed. She tapped her tablet, projecting logs into the air. Oxygen curves, net integrity, sedative dosages, all displayed in precise figures. Vrix sneered. "And yet the chamber was breached. Your restraint endangered them. Had you vented the lab, the danger would have ended in seconds, along with the lives of every aquatic student in the room," Nyla replied. Her tone was steady, almost conversational. "Clause 7 forbids lethal force unless sentient lives are seconds from ending. That threshold was not reached." The students exchanged glances. Some sat taller, as if her defense extended to them too. Vrix flicked his claw toward the recorder drone. "The council will hear of this. Simulations suffice. We will not risk another debacle." He turned and left without waiting for response. The drone lingered, then followed, its lens blinking red. Nyla exhaled quietly. "We're not finished," she told the class. Later, with the room cleared, she pulled up deeper system logs. Yesterday's breach hadn't been random. The redundant lock had been disabled by an admin-level command. Blue clearance. That level existed for faculty and a handful of legacy students. She leaned over the console, scanning thermal residues. Most aliens left faint patterns, but human salts lingered longer in the dry Aurelian air. She ran a sweep. A handprint glowed faintly across the side panel, human, unmistakable. "Storm Sister?" The voice startled her. Luma stood in the doorway, head front swaying. "You weren't dismissed," Nyla said, though without heat. "I stayed," Luma answered, "to understand. The lock, why did it sleep?" Nyla hesitated. Then she tilted the screen toward her. "Because someone told it to." Luma studied the glowing handprint. "A human," she said softly. "One of yours. Looks that way," Nyla admitted. The Celesti's eyes blinked in pairs. "Yesterday, I thought all humans were storms. Loud, dangerous, tearing. But you were like rain after drought. Gentle yet enough. If another human opened that lock..." Nyla cut her off gently. "We'll find proof before we accuse. Keep this between us." Luma inclined her head. "As you say, Storm Sister." The following week, Nyla doubled the drills. If someone wanted to sabotage, she would ensure the class could survive anything. The training pushed them hard. Grip ladders were adjusted for alien anatomy. Breathing techniques became collective exercises. Sealshire hummed in communal rhythm. Yannick tapped measured beats. Kassiri synchronized wing flexes with human metronomes. Ethics scenarios were run until answers became instinct, not when to strike, but when to withhold force. At first, the students stumbled. But slowly, coordination replaced chaos. Trust threaded through movements. They began correcting each other without fear, adopting Nyla's method. State the observation, then suggest the improvement. One evening, the faculty held a public hearing. Vrix stood tall before a chamber filled with viewers, broadcasting live. "This program endangers lives," he declared. "Simulations provide all necessary practice without risk. Yesterday proves it." He gestured, and a simulation pod lit up, projecting a virtual predator stalking through flawless algorithms. "Here, students can learn without trauma." Nyla stepped forward. "Simulations encode bias. They cannot capture chaos." To prove it, she triggered an overlay inside the sim, a turbulent airflow, pheromone plumes colliding. The predator's code failed, stuttering against unexpected variants. Yesterday, those plumes nearly caused a cascade. The sim can't model that. Only reality can. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some faculty frowned, but students in the audience nodded vigorously. The board withheld judgment. "We will review," the chair said. Later, in the corridor, Cade Rourke blocked Nyla's path. His jaw was tight, eyes bright with anger. "They only respect us when something bleeds," he said. Nyla kept walking, but her words were sharp. "Respect isn't earned by breaking. It's earned by refusing to break what you could." His lip curled. "That's weakness. They'll forget. They'll remember survival," she replied, not slowing. "And who made it possible." The next practicum was scheduled off-station, a field survey in Aurelia's canopy. 3 stock cutters would be tagged and released back into the wild, proving conservation value. Students buzzed with anticipation, unaware of the quiet sabotage already seeded. While calibrating drones, Nyla scanned atmospheric telemetry. A pattern caught her eye. 2 identical pheromone signatures layered across the wind. Impossible. Natural plumes never duplicated exactly. Her stomach tightened. Someone had planted a lure. A gust shifted. From the treeline below, more signatures rose. Predators converging, fast, multiple, drawn by an artificial beacon. She snapped her comm open. "All units brace. We're not alone." Branches trembled in the distance. Shadows moved. The practicum was no longer a controlled lesson. It was becoming a trial by fire. The canopy groaned with life. Branches stretched wide as bridges, leaves broad as sails, vines hanging in coiled ropes that swayed with the wind. The air was sharp with resin and the musky tang of predator pheromone. Dr. Nyla Freeman crouched on a platform, scanning the readings again. Duplicate signatures pulsed across her display, artificial and exact. Someone had laid a lure. Below, shadows moved. 3 stock cutters, drawn by the beacon, crept toward the survey site. Their ridges flared, eyes catching the filtered light, each step precise and silent. She clicked her comm. "Listen carefully. We've got multiple predators inbound. This is no drill. Stick to training. Cell assignments stay the same. We handle this together." A Yannick's drumming answer came back, quick and clipped. "Ready." Luma's voice followed, calm despite the quiver underneath. "Counter-pheromone solution prepared." A Kasiri hissed softly. "Flares primed. We await your mark." Nyla exhaled once. Fear wasn't absent. It was caged, disciplined, useful. The predators burst from the undergrowth, lean bodies rippling. The students froze, instincts clashing, wings twitched to fly, fronds swayed to hide, mandibles rattled with panic. "Hold formation," Nyla commanded. Her voice cut through like steel. "Yannick, resonant fence, 30-beat cycle. Kasiri, deploy flares, lead them right. Luma, miss the counters now." The Yannick slammed forelimbs in precise rhythm, the sound echoing through the canopy. Predators flinched, their inner ears rattled by the pounding cadence. Kasiri wings snapped open, scattering brilliant flares and arcs of color. Trails of light pulled the predators sideways. Luma's mist spread in a wide cloud, the sharp tang muting the artificial lure. The predators veered, confused, caught between instinct and misdirection. One juvenile, smaller but reckless, slipped past the fence. Its eyes locked on a trembling sealshire near the rear. It lunged. Nyla moved. She didn't draw her tranq pistol. She holstered it and stepped into the beast's path. Her body angled low, shoulders oblique, eyes averted. She mirrored its movements, not challenging, not fleeing, communicating. The predator hissed, claws scraping the platform. Nyla tapped her baton twice at the lowest setting, producing a sharp pulse against the wood. The vibration rippled. The creature hesitated, crest lowering. "Go on," she whispered, not for the animal but for her students. The juvenile flicked its tail, then bounded sideways into the mist, leaving the seal shore untouched. Relief broke across the comm channel. The fence held, the predators redirected, the flares steering them toward the funnel traps. Nets closed with a hiss, sedatives releasing. 3 stock cutters slumped, breathing steady, tagged, unharmed, ready for release. The canopy quieted. Only the echo of the yenic rhythm lingered before fading. Nyla checked her readings. No fatalities. No injuries. Every student accounted for. Her chest loosened. "Stand down," she said softly. "You did it." Cheers erupted, awkward and uncoordinated, but genuine. Fear had been broken, replaced by pride. Then the alert pinged again, this time from her wrist. She followed the signal to a small beacon buried beneath vines. A human-manufactured lure, frequency set to attract predators. Cade Rourke stood on the far edge of the platform, his expression torn between defiance and exhilaration. "If I hadn't placed it," he said, "you'd never have shown them what humans are really capable of." Students turned, their eyes narrowing, wings folding tight, fronds curling in disgust. "You risked their lives," Nyla said. Her tone was quiet, sharper than a shout. "All of them. For spectacle. They needed proof." Cade spat. "They'll never trust us unless we bleed for them." Nyla stepped closer, baton still at her side. "Trust isn't built on manipulation. It's built when you choose not to harm. You call this strength? It's cowardice." Vrix's voice cracked across the channel, smug and vicious. "Evidence of sabotage. The council will demand immediate expulsion. Perhaps criminal charges." Students glanced at one another, uncertain. Nyla lifted her head. "There will be consequences, but we handle them lawfully, not vengefully. He'll answer before the council, and he'll answer here to all of you for what he did." She locked eyes with Cade. "You'll explain yourself. You'll take responsibility. And you'll work to repair the damage you caused. Not because it saves you, but because it's what humans owe when we fail." For the first time, Cade's defiance faltered. 2 days later, the council chamber overflowed. Record drones hovered overhead, broadcasting across the station. Vrix stood tall, feathers sharp, voice laced with triumph. "This farce of a practicum nearly cost lives. Even its own human student attempted sabotage. The risk is plain. Simulations are enough. Shut this program down." Murmurs rippled. Nyla stepped forward. Her presence was steady, not grand. 3 predators entered a live field," she began. 20 students faced them. Not one life was lost. Not one creature was harmed. They acted together across species, using training no simulation could teach. And yes, sabotage occurred. But sabotage was discovered not through force, but through protocol, discipline, and teamwork. That's what kept them alive. She gestured to the students lined behind her, their bodies marked with fresh field scars. Kasiri feathers singed from flares, Yannick forelimbs bruised from drumming, seal fronds stained by counter mist. "They did this," Nyla said. "Not alone. Together. And now they're proof that competence, not spectacle, earns trust." The chamber fell into silence. Then, slowly, the chair of the board leaned forward. "The practicum stands. Expanded, in fact. Transparency and cross-species faculty oversight will be added. Dr. Freeman, you will continue to lead." Vrix's feathers sagged, his face tight with forced neutrality. That evening, the class gathered in the canopy clearing one last time. The 3 predators, tagged and healthy, bounded into the trees as the crates opened. Their crests flared once in recognition before they vanished into shadow. Luma stepped forward, pressing a carved waterstone into Nyla's hand. "Storm, sister," she said softly. "You made the rain fall where it was needed." The Yannick beat a gentle 5-count rhythm, naming a gate that opens. The Kasiri bent their wings in salute. Nyla felt something settle in her chest, not triumph, not relief. Something quieter, steadier. Respect, earned and shared. She looked out across the canopy, where the predators had vanished, and lowered her head in a small bow. Not as conqueror, as neighbor. Behind her, the students clustered together for a photo. Different shapes, colors, and bodies standing shoulder to shoulder. Nets furled, flares unlit, smiles breaking across every face. A memory sealed forever. For the first time since she had stepped onto the station, Nyla believed the word Deathworlder could mean something other than fear. It could mean responsibility. It could mean trust.